The diary. So, okay, let me tell you about the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, seriously, you're not gonna believe this. But I swear on everything, this is all true. It started about 3 months ago. I was cleaning out the attic. You know, one of those things you keep putting off forever? Yeah, that. My sister Emma died 5 years ago, and I've been raising her daughter Lily ever since. Lily's 7 now, and she's basically my whole world. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So there I was, covered in dust, sneezing my head off, going through all these old boxes. Most of it was junk, right? Old clothes, some broken Christmas decorations, random stuff that should have been thrown out ages ago. But then I found this shoebox pushed way back in the corner. And when I opened it up, there was Emma's diary. Now, I knew Emma kept a diary when we were growing up. She was always scribbling in those things, super secretive about it. But I figured they were all gone or she'd thrown them away or whatever. This one looked different though. The leather was all worn, and when I opened it up, I saw the dates. It was from the last year of her life. My hands were literally shaking when I realized what I was holding. Part of me was like, put it back, this is private. You shouldn't be reading this. But the other part, the part that had spent 5 years wondering why she did what she did, why she left Lily, why she left me, that part needed answers. So I sat down right there on the dusty attic floor and I started reading. The first few entries were pretty normal, you know? Just everyday stuff. Went to work today, my boss is still an idiot. That kind of thing. She complained about her apartment being too small, about how expensive everything was, about dating in your 30s being the absolute worst. Honestly, it was kind of nice hearing her voice again, even if it was just words on paper. But then I got to an entry from about 14 months before she died, and everything changed. I don't know how to write this down, it said. I don't even know if I should. But if I don't tell someone, even if it's just this diary, I think I'm gonna lose my mind. So here goes. I'm pregnant. I stopped breathing for a second. See, the thing is, we all knew Emma got pregnant. Obviously, right? Lily exists. But what we'd been told, what Emma had told everyone, was that she had a one-night stand with some guy whose name she didn't even know. That's the story. That's what I'd told Lily when she was old enough to start asking about her dad. Your mom met someone, but it didn't work out, and she didn't stay in touch with him. But as I kept reading, I realized that story was complete BS. I can't tell anyone who the father is, the next entry said. Not my parents, not my friends, definitely not my sister. Because if I do, everything falls apart. Everything. God, what have I done? What have I done? My heart was pounding now. I flipped ahead, looking for more information. But the next few entries were all vague. Just her freaking out about the pregnancy. About what she was gonna do. About whether she should keep the baby or not. And then I found it. The entry that made everything make sense. And also made no sense at all. I saw him today. David brought his wife and kids to the office for some company family day thing. His daughter Sarah is 7, and his son Jake is 5, and they're so cute. And his wife Jennifer seems so nice, and I wanted to die. I actually wanted to disappear into the floor. Because I'm carrying his baby, and he doesn't even know, and I can't tell him. I can't. David. My brain was going a million miles an hour, trying to figure out who David was. Emma had worked at some marketing firm downtown. Had she mentioned a David? I couldn't remember, But the fact that he had a wife and kids? Oh God, Emma had been having an affair with a married man. I kept reading, and the whole story came tumbling out. She'd met David at work about 6 months before she got pregnant. He was some senior executive, 15 years older than her, and apparently he'd been flirting with her for weeks. She knew he was married. She knew it was wrong. But she wrote about how charming he was, how he made her feel special, how he said his marriage was basically over anyway. You know, all the classic lines married guys use. They'd been sneaking around for months, meeting at hotels, making up excuses to stay late at work, being super careful that nobody found out. And then one night, apparently the condom broke, or they didn't use one, or something. She wasn't super clear on the details, and boom, pregnant. When she found out, she completely panicked. She wrote this whole thing about how she couldn't tell David because what if he wanted her to get an abortion? What if he left his wife for her and his kids hated her forever? What if he just denied it was his and called her a liar? She was spiraling. You could tell from the way the handwriting got all messy and frantic. So she made a decision. She was gonna have the baby and raise it on her own. And she was just never gonna tell him. She'd quit her job, which she did, I remembered that. She said she wanted to try freelancing. And she'd move to a different part of the city where she wouldn't run into him. Fresh start. And that's exactly what she did. She moved, she had Lily, and for a while, according to the diary, things were actually okay. Hard, you know, being a single mom with no support and not much money. But okay. She loved Lily so much. The entries about Lily are honestly beautiful. She smiled at me today for the first time, and I swear my heart exploded. Stuff like that. But then, about 6 months after Lily was born, things started going downhill. Anna started writing about how exhausted she was all the time, how she couldn't sleep, how everything felt overwhelming. At first, I thought it was just normal new mom stuff, postpartum depression maybe. But then, the entries got darker. I can't stop thinking about what I did, she wrote. Not just the affair, but Lily. I brought her into this world based on a lie. She's never gonna know her father. She's never gonna have siblings or grandparents on his side or any of that. I stole that from her. What kind of person does that? She was drowning in guilt, you could tell. And the thing is, I knew Emma struggled those first couple years after Lily was born. She seemed sad a lot, distant. We all thought it was the stress of being a single parent. We tried to help. We really did. Mom and Dad babysat all the time. I came over as much as I could. But Emma kept pushing us away, saying she was fine, saying she needed to figure things out on her own. Now I knew why. She couldn't let us in because she was carrying this massive secret, this lie that was eating her alive. The diary entries after that got more and more erratic. Sometimes she'd write these long, rambling things about how Lily deserved better, how maybe David and his wife would be better parents, how maybe she should just confess everything and let the chips fall where they may. Other times, she'd write about how she was doing fine. Everything was fine. She just needed to push through. And then, about 3 months before she died, the entries just stopped. There was one final entry, dated exactly 3 months and 2 days before the car accident that killed her. "I've been thinking," it said. "If something happens to me, someone needs to know the truth. Someone needs to be able to tell Lily where she came from, who her father is. It's not fair to leave her completely in the dark. So I'm writing this down, all of it, and I'm gonna hide this diary somewhere safe, somewhere it might eventually be found, just in case." And then she listed everything. David's full name, David Morrison, the company he worked for, his wife's name, Jennifer, the names and ages of his kids, even their address, which I guess she must have found somehow. It was all there, laid out like some kind of insurance policy. I sat there in that attic for I don't know how long, just holding the diary, crying my eyes out. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Why Emma had been so secretive. Why she'd pushed everyone away. Why she'd seemed so sad and guilty all the time. She'd been living with this enormous burden, and she'd been completely alone with it. And the worst part, she died 3 months after writing that last entry. She never got to tell anyone. She never got to decide what to do with the information. It was just gone. Until now. I didn't know what to do. I mean, what are you supposed to do with information like that? On one hand, Lily had a father out there. A father who had no idea she existed. Didn't she have a right to know him? Didn't he have a right to know about her? But on the other hand, this guy had a whole family. A wife, 2 other kids. What would it do to them to find out that he'd had an affair and there was this secret child? Would it destroy their family? Would it destroy Lily to be thrown into the middle of all that drama? I went downstairs in a total daze. Lily was at school, so I had the house to myself. I made some tea and just sat at the kitchen table, reading through the diary again, trying to figure out what Emma would have wanted me to do. That's when I noticed something I'd missed before. In one of the entries from when Lily was about 6 months old, Emma had written, "Sometimes I imagine telling my sister everything. She'd be so disappointed in me, so angry at me for being so stupid and reckless. But she'd also help me figure out what to do. She always knows what to do. I wish I was brave enough to tell her." God, that broke my heart. Because she was right. I would have been disappointed and angry. But I also would have helped her. I would have been there for her. If only she'd trusted me enough to let me in. But now here I was, 5 years too late, holding all her secrets, and I had to decide what to do with them all by myself. I started by doing some research. I looked up David Morrison, and yep, there he was. Still worked at the same company, looked exactly like Emma had described him. Tall, good-looking in that generic businessman way, graying at the temples. His LinkedIn said he was now vice president of something or other. I found his wife Jennifer too. She had a Facebook page that was set to public. There were tons of family photos. The kids were teenagers now. Sarah was 12 and Jake was 10. They looked happy, normal. For a few days, I didn't do anything. I just went through the motions, taking care of Lily, going to work, pretending everything was normal. But the whole time, that diary was burning a hole in my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Finally, I decided I needed advice. I called my best friend Rachel and asked her to come over after Lily went to bed. When she got there, I just handed her the diary and said, "Read this. Start at the page I marked." It took her about an hour to read through all the important parts. When she finally looked up, her eyes were huge. "Holy shit," she said. "Yeah," I said. "So what are you going to do?" "I have no idea. That's why I called you." We talked for hours that night. Rachel's take was that I should reach out to David, that he deserved to know, that Lily deserved to have a relationship with her father, if that was possible. But she also said I needed to be really careful about how I did it, because this could blow up in a major way. "Think about it," she said. "This guy's probably gonna freak out. He might deny it. He might accuse Emma of lying. He might accuse you of lying. His wife might lose her mind. His kids might hate him. It's gonna be messy. But what if it goes well? I said. What if he's a decent guy who wants to be part of Lily's life? What if she gets to have a dad? Then that would be amazing, Rachel said. But you gotta be prepared for it to go the other way too. After Rachel left, I spent most of the night lying awake, thinking. By the time the sun came up, I'd made my decision. I was gonna reach out to David. Not because I was sure it was the right thing to do, but because I felt like Emma had left me that diary for a reason. She'd wanted someone to know the truth. Maybe she'd even wanted someone to tell him. But I wasn't just gonna drop this bomb on him out of nowhere. First, I needed to know for sure that he was actually Lily's father. So I did some more research and found out about those DNA testing companies where you can send in a sample and they tell you all about your ancestry and genetic matches and stuff. The thing is, I couldn't just test David's DNA without his knowledge. That would be super creepy and probably illegal. But I could test Lily's DNA and see if any close relatives popped up. Maybe David had done one of those tests, or one of his kids had, or some other relative. It was a long shot, but it was worth a try. So I ordered a kit, and when it came, I helped Lily spit in the tube. She thought it was hilarious and gross and sent it off. Then I waited. They said it would take about 6 to 8 weeks to get the results. Those weeks were torture, let me tell you. Every day I'd think about telling Lily, hey, so I found out who your dad is. But I couldn't do it until I knew for sure. And I kept imagining all the different ways this could go. Good scenarios, bad scenarios, absolutely nightmare scenarios. Lily noticed I was acting weird too. One night at dinner, she was like, "Are you okay? You seem sad." "I'm fine, sweetie," I lied. "Just tired from work." She gave me this look, like she didn't quite believe me, but she dropped it. God, she looked so much like Emma in that moment. Same dark hair, same big brown eyes, same way of tilting her head when she was trying to figure something out. It made my chest hurt. Finally, the DNA results came back. I waited until Lily was asleep to open them. My hands were shaking so bad, I could barely click through the website. The ancestry stuff came up first, mostly European, some Middle Eastern, exactly what I would have expected based on our family. But then I clicked on the relative matches, and there it was, a close match. A first cousin or half-sibling match. The person's name was Sarah Morrison. I almost dropped my laptop. Sarah, that was David's daughter's name, his 12-year-old daughter. I clicked on her profile. She'd apparently done the test through her school for some genealogy project. And there, listed on her family tree that she'd made public, were her parents' names, David and Jennifer Morrison. It was real. It was all real. David Morrison was Lily's biological father, and Sarah was her half-sister. And this wasn't just some story Emma had made up or some delusion. It was the truth. I cried for like an hour straight. Not even sad crying, really. Just this overwhelming release of all the tension I'd been carrying. Now I knew for sure. Now I had proof. Now I had to figure out what to do next. I spent the next week writing and rewriting an email to David. I must have drafted it 50 times. Too aggressive, too timid, too cold, too emotional. Nothing felt right. Finally, I settled on something simple and direct. Dear Mr. Morrison, my name is... And I'm writing to you. I must have stared at that email for 20 minutes before I finally hit send. And then I immediately panicked and wanted to take it back. But it was done. It was out there. All I could do now was wait. He responded 2 days later, just 2 lines. I need to think about this. I'll be in touch. Not exactly warm and fuzzy, but at least he didn't completely blow me off or call me a liar. So I waited some more. A week went by, then another week. I was starting to think he decided to just ignore the whole thing and pretend it never happened. I couldn't really blame him. I mean, what would you do if some stranger emailed you and said, "Hey, you have a secret kid"? But then, exactly 2 weeks after his first response, he emailed me again. This time, it was longer. "I've thought about what you told me," he wrote. "I won't lie. I'm shocked and confused and not sure what to think. But if what you're saying is true, I need to know. I need to understand what happened. Can we meet somewhere to talk? Just the two of us before we involve anyone else? I think I owe you and Lily that much." I wrote back immediately, and we set up a meeting at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory, public place, middle of the day on a Saturday. I asked Rachel to wait nearby, just in case things went bad and I needed backup. The night before the meeting, I barely slept. I kept running through everything I wanted to say, everything he might ask, all the ways it could go wrong. I also kept thinking about Emma, wondering if she was watching somehow, if she approved of what I was doing. Saturday morning came. I dropped Lily off at a friend's house for a playdate. I told her I had some errands to run and headed to the coffee shop. I got there early and grabbed a table in the corner. I brought the diary with me, plus printouts of the DNA test results, plus some photos of Lily at different ages. David showed up right on time. I recognized him immediately from his photos online, but seeing him in person was different. He looked tired, stressed, older than his pictures. He spotted me. I'd told him I'd be wearing a red jacket, and walked over slowly, like he was heading to his own execution. "Hi," he said, not quite making eye contact. "I'm David." "Hi," I said. "Thanks for coming. I know this must be crazy," he interrupted. "Yeah, this is insane. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I need you to just tell me everything from the beginning." So I did. I told him about finding the diary, about what Emma had written, about the DNA test. He listened to the whole thing without saying a word, just staring down at the table. When I finished, there was this long, horrible silence. Finally, he looked up at me, and I could see he'd been crying. "Emma," he said quietly. "God, I can't believe it. I wondered what happened to her. She just quit one day, didn't even say goodbye. I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe she'd figured out I was never actually gonna leave my wife like I kept saying I would." I felt guilty about it, but not guilty enough to, actually do anything about it. His honesty surprised me. I'd expected him to deny it or make excuses, but he was just being real. "I was a coward," he continued. "I told Emma what she wanted to hear because it made it easier to keep the affair going. I told her my marriage was falling apart, that I just needed time, all of that. But the truth is, I loved my wife. I love my wife. I don't know. I got caught up in something I shouldn't have, and I hurt people, and I've had to live with that." "Did your wife find out?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, Emma and I were careful, or I thought we were, anyway. Jennifer has no idea. My kids have no idea. And now you're telling me there's this whole other child that I didn't know about, and I don't know how to process that." I pushed the photos across the table. "This is Lily. She's 7. She's smart and funny and a little bit shy. and she loves dinosaurs and strawberry ice cream and building things with Legos. And she asks about her dad sometimes. Not a lot, but sometimes. He picked up the photos with shaking hands. He looked at each one for a long time, and I could see it hitting him. This wasn't abstract anymore. This was a real kid. His kid. "She looks like Sarah," he said finally. "My dar. They have the same eyes." "I know," I said. "They matched on the DNA test. That's how I confirmed it was you." His head snapped up. "Sarah did one of those tests?" "For a school project, apparently." "Jesus." He put his head in his hands. "Does she know?" We talked for almost 3 hours. He asked me a million questions about Lily, about Emma, about everything. I answered as honestly as I could. And slowly, as we talked, I started to see that he wasn't a bad guy. He'd done a bad thing, yeah, but he wasn't evil. He was just human. Flawed and complicated and human. By the end of the conversation, we'd agreed on some next steps. He wanted to meet Lily, but he needed time to figure out how to handle things with his family first. He asked me not to do anything or tell anyone else until he'd had a chance to talk to Jennifer. "This is gonna destroy her," he said. "Our marriage has been good for years now. We worked through our issues, we're solid. And now I have to tell her about this affair I had a decade ago and this child that resulted from it. It's gonna break her heart." "I'm sorry," I said. And I meant it. I didn't want to ruin his marriage or hurt his family. But Lily deserved to know her father, and he deserved to know her. We agreed to talk again in a week, after he'd had time to process everything and figure out how to tell Jennifer. I drove home feeling emotionally drained, but also weirdly hopeful. He'd seemed genuinely moved by the photos of Lily, genuinely interested in getting to know her. Maybe this could actually work out. But then the week passed, and he didn't call. Another week passed. Nothing. I sent him an email. No response. I tried calling the number he'd given me, straight to voicemail. I started to panic. Had he changed his mind? Had he told his wife and she'd forbidden him from having contact with Lily? Had he decided it was too messy and complicated, and he just wanted to pretend none of this ever happened? Finally, after 3 weeks of silence, I got an email from him. My hands were shaking when I opened it. "I'm sorry I haven't been in touch," it said. "The conversation with Jennifer didn't go well. She's devastated and angry, and she's asked me to have no contact with Lily. She says if I pursue a relationship with her, she'll file for divorce and make sure I never see Sarah and Jake again. I've tried to make her understand that Lily is an innocent kid in all this, but she won't listen. She says I made my choice when I decided to have the affair. And now I have to live with the consequences. I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry." I read that email probably 10 times, and each time I got angrier. How dare he? How dare he get Lily's hopes up? Okay, well, Lily didn't know yet, but still. And then just abandon her because his wife said so? Lily was his daughter. His daughter. And he was just gonna walk away because it was inconvenient? I wrote back an angry email. Told him he was a coward. Told him Lily deserved better. Told him Emma would be disgusted with him. I hit send before I could think better of it. He wrote back an hour later. "You're right. I am a coward. I always have been. I'm sorry I can't be the father Lily deserves. I'm sorry I can't be the man Emma thought I was. But I have to think about the family I have now. I can't lose Sarah and Jake. They need me. I hope someday Lily can understand that. And that was it. That was the end of it. He was done, finished, wanted nothing to do with us. I was so angry I couldn't see straight. I wanted to drive to his house and bang on the door and scream at him in front of his whole perfect family. I wanted to post everything on social media and ruin his reputation. I wanted to make him hurt the way he was making Lily hurt, even though she didn't know it yet. But I didn't do any of that, because what would it accomplish? It wouldn't make him change his mind. It would just create more mess, more pain, more complications. Instead, I just cried. I cried for Emma, who died still carrying this secret. I cried for Lily, who'd never get to know her father. And I cried for myself, because I'd really thought this was gonna work out. I'd really thought maybe there could be a happy ending. Rachel came over that night and let me vent for hours. She was furious too. He's garbage, she kept saying. Absolute garbage. Lily is so much better off without him. But here's the thing. I wasn't sure that was true. Yeah, he was a coward and a cheater and all of that. But he was also Lily's father. And she had a right to know who he was, even if he didn't want to be part of her life. So I made another decision. When Lily was old enough, maybe when she was a teenager, maybe when she was an adult, I'd tell her everything. I'd give her the diary. I'd show her the DNA results. I'd tell her about my meeting with David. And then I'd let her decide what she wanted to do with that information. If she wanted to reach out to him, I'd support her. If she wanted nothing to do with him, I'd support that too. But for now, while she was still just a kid, I'd protect her from all of it. I'd keep being her mom, not her aunt, her mom. Because that's basically what I was at this point. And I'd give her the most normal, stable, loving childhood I possibly could. The problem was, keeping secrets is hard, and kids are perceptive. A few weeks after my final email exchange with David, Lily came up to me while I was making dinner. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure, sweetie. What's up?" "Why have you been so sad lately?" I stopped chopping vegetables and turned to look at her. She had this worried expression on her face that broke my heart. "I haven't been sad," I lied. "Yes, you have. You've been crying a lot. I can hear you sometimes at night." Damn. I thought I'd been quiet about it. I knelt down so I was at her eye level. "You're right, I have been a little sad. But it's not because of you, okay? You didn't do anything wrong. I've just been thinking about your mom a lot lately. I miss her." That part wasn't a lie, at least. Lily's face softened. "I miss her too, even though I don't really remember her that much." "I know, baby, but she loved you so much. I hope you know that." "I know," Lily said. Then, after a pause, "Do you think my dad ever thinks about me?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. "What makes you ask that?" She shrugged. "I was just wondering. Like, do you think he knows about me? Do you think he wonders what I'm like?" I had to choose my words very carefully here. "I think if your dad knew about you, he'd think you were pretty amazing, because you are. But he doesn't know about me, right? That's what you said before, that Mom didn't stay in touch with him." "That's right." "Oh," she looked disappointed. "I just thought maybe, I don't know, maybe he'd want to meet me if he knew." I hugged her tight, fighting back tears. "Listen to me, Lily. You are so loved. By me, by Grandma and Grandpa, by all of our friends and family. And your mom loved you more than anything in the world. That's what matters, okay?" "Okay," she said, hugging me back. But I could tell she was still thinking about it. After that conversation, I started noticing how often Lily brought up her dad. Not constantly, but enough that I could tell it was on her mind. She'd see a TV show with a father-daughter relationship and get quiet. She'd see kids with their dads at the park and watch them for a little too long. One time she came home from school and told me they'd made Father's Day cards in class, and she'd made one for Grandpa instead, but she'd seemed sad about it. It was killing me, because I had the answers to her questions. I knew exactly who her father was, where he lived, what he looked like, but I also knew that telling her would mean explaining Emma's affair, explaining David's rejection, explaining all this complicated adult stuff that she was way too young to understand. So I kept quiet and hated myself for it. Months went by. Life went on. Lily started second grade. I got a promotion at work. We adopted a cat named Pickles that Lily absolutely adored. On the surface, everything was fine, great even. But underneath, I was carrying this weight, this secret, and I started to understand, maybe for the first time, what Emma must have felt like. That crushing guilt of knowing you're keeping something from someone who deserves to know. That constant anxiety that somehow, someday, the truth would come out in the worst possible way. I also started thinking more about David's other kids, Sarah and Jake, Lily's half-siblings. They had no idea she existed, and part of me felt like that wasn't fair either. What if they wanted to know her? What if they would have loved having a little sister? But then I'd remember that their mother had explicitly forbidden David from having contact with Lily. And I'd realize that reaching out to them would just cause even more problems. It would put them in an impossible position. Keep this secret from their mom, or tell her and blow up their family all over again. There was no good answer. No matter what I did, someone was going to get hurt. Around this time, I started seeing a therapist. Rachel had been suggesting it for a while, and I finally gave in. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help me process all of this without judging me. Dr. Martinez was great. She listened to the whole story, the diary, the DNA test, the meeting with David, all of it. And she didn't tell me what to do. She just helped me think through the options and the consequences. The question isn't whether Lily deserves to know the truth, she said during one session. She does. The question is when and how you tell her in a way that she can process and understand. But what if I tell her and it destroys her? I said. What if she hates me for keeping it from her? What if she hates Emma for lying about everything? Those are real possibilities, Dr. Martinez said. But the alternative is keeping this secret forever. And secrets like this have a way of coming out eventually, usually at the worst possible time. At least if you control when and how she learns about it, you can be there to help her through it. She had a point, but I still wasn't ready. Lily was only 7 years old. How do you explain affairs and DNA tests and rejection to a 7-year-old? You don't, Dr. Martinez said. Not yet. But you start laying the groundwork. You have age-appropriate conversations about how families are complicated, how people make mistakes, how love doesn't always look the way we think it should. You prepare her slowly, so that when the time comes to tell her the full truth, she's ready. And you know what? Lily seemed to appreciate it. She liked hearing that Emma wasn't perfect, that she was human. I think it made her feel less pressure to be perfect herself. Things were going okay for a while. And then, about a year after I'd first reached out to David, something happened that changed everything. I was at the grocery store with Lily, just doing our normal Saturday morning shopping. Lily was pushing the cart and making race car noises. She was 8 now, and still doing silly kid stuff, which I loved, when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and there was Jennifer Morrison, David's wife. My heart literally stopped. I'd looked at enough of her Facebook photos that I recognized her immediately. But what the hell was she doing here? They lived on the other side of the city. This wasn't their neighborhood. "Are you—" she started to say, then stopped and looked down at Lily. Her face went pale. Oh God, she saw it too. The resemblance to Sarah, to her own family. "Lily, honey, can you go grab us some apples from the produce section?" I said quickly. "I'll need to talk to this lady for a minute." Lily looked confused, but nodded and headed off with the cart. As soon as she was out of earshot, Jennifer turned to me with this expression I couldn't quite read. Anger, sadness, both, that's her. She said. It wasn't a question. Yes, I said. She looks just like my daughter. I know. We stood there for a moment in this awful silence. I had no idea what to say. Was she going to yell at me? Cause a scene? Tell me to stay away from her family? Instead, she did something I never expected. She started crying. "I'm sorry," she said, wiping at her eyes. "God, I'm sorry. I don't even know why. I just saw you guys and I couldn't help myself. I had to see her. I've been thinking about her for a year, ever since David told me. I've been so angry but also so curious, and I needed to see her." "Are you following me?" I asked, suddenly paranoid. "What? No, I swear. My sister lives in this neighborhood. I'm visiting her." "I was just running to the store to grab something for dinner tonight, and then I saw you guys. And God, this is so messed up." "Yeah," I agreed. "It really is." She was quiet for a moment, still looking in the direction Lily had gone. "What's she like, if you don't mind me asking?" So I told her. I told her about Lily's dinosaur obsession, her love of building things, her shyness around new people, but her goofy sense of humor once she got comfortable. Jennifer listened to all of it, still crying quietly. "She sounds sweet," Jennifer said when I finished. "Sarah would love her." That caught me off guard. Sarah knows about her? No, God no. I'd never tell her about any of this. It would destroy her. But I don't know. I just have this feeling that they'd get along. Sisters usually do. Half-sisters, I corrected automatically. "Does that matter?" she asked. "They share DNA. They're family, whether we like it or not." I didn't know what to say to that. Lily came back then, her arms full of apple bags. "I didn't know which kind you wanted, so I got 3 different ones," she said cheerfully. Then she noticed Jennifer and got shy, hiding a little behind me. "Hi there," Jennifer said, her voice shaking slightly. "I'm Jennifer. Your apples look great." "Thanks," Lily said quietly. Jennifer looked at her for another moment, and I could see her fighting to keep her emotions in check. Then she turned back to me. "I should go, but could I maybe have your number? I'd like to talk more. When we're not in a grocery store." I hesitated. This felt like a bad idea. But something about the way she was looking at me, not with anger, but with this desperate kind of hope, made me give in. We exchanged numbers right there in the cereal aisle, and then she left. Lily immediately asked who that was, and I made up some lie about her being an old friend of Emma's. Lily seemed to accept it and went back to talking about which apples we should get. But my mind was racing. What did Jennifer want? Was this some kind of trap? Was she going to use my number to track me down and cause trouble? She texted me that evening. "Thank you for talking to me today. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I've been carrying this around for a year, and I need to talk to someone who understands. Can we meet for coffee sometime? I showed the text to Rachel, who immediately said it was a terrible idea. She's probably gathering information to use against you in court or something, Rachel said. Don't meet with her. But I don't know. Something told me Jennifer wasn't trying to hurt us. She seemed genuine in the store, sad and lost and looking for answers, just like I had been. So I said yes. We met at the same coffee shop where I'd met David, which felt weirdly full circle. Jennifer got there first this time. She looked even more tired than David had, like she hadn't slept in weeks. Maybe she hadn't. We sat down, and for a few minutes, neither of us said anything. Finally, she spoke. I'm not here to threaten you or make demands or anything like that, she said. I need to understand. I need to know what happened with Emma and David. He's told me his version, but I feel like there's more to the story. So I told her everything Emma had written in the diary about the affair, about getting pregnant, about deciding not to tell David. I'd brought the diary with me. I wasn't sure why, but it felt important, and I let her read the relevant parts. She read in silence, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she closed the diary carefully and pushed it back across the table. She really loved him, Jennifer said quietly. Emma, she really thought he was going to leave me for her. Yeah, I said. I think she did. And he never had any intention of doing that. He told me he didn't when we met. Jennifer laughed bitterly. Of course he didn't. David's a lot of things, but he's not brave enough to blow up his life like that. He's comfortable. He likes things stable and predictable. An affair was exciting, but leaving his whole family? Never. Are you still together? I asked. You and David? Technically, she said. We're in couples therapy, trying to work through it. Some days I think we'll make it. Other days, I want to burn the whole thing down and start over. I'm sorry. I said, I didn't want to ruin your marriage. I just wanted Lily to know where she came from. You didn't ruin my marriage, Jennifer said. David did that all on his own. You just brought it to light. We talked for a long time that day. She asked me more questions about Lily, about Emma, about everything. And slowly, I started to understand what she was dealing with. She'd spent 17 years with David, built a whole life with him, raised 2 kids with him, and now she had to reconcile the man she thought she knew with the man who'd had an affair and fathered a secret child. Before we left, she said something that stuck with me. I keep thinking about my kids, she said. Sarah and Jake, they have a sister they don't know about, and part of me wants to protect them from ever finding out, because I know it'll hurt them to learn what their father did. But another part of me thinks they have a right to know, that Lily has a right to know them. What are you saying? I asked. I don't know, she admitted. I really don't. But maybe there's a way for the kids to meet each other, without all the adult drama. Would you ever consider that? I thought about it. The idea terrified me. So many things could go wrong. But it also excited me, because Lily wanted to know her father's family, and if she couldn't have David, maybe she could at least have her siblings. Let me think about it, I said. And I did. I thought about it constantly for the next several weeks. I talked it through with Dr. Martinez, with Rachel, even with my parents, although I didn't tell them all the details, just that there was a possibility of Lily meeting some extended family on Emma's side. Everyone had opinions. Dr. Martinez thought it could be therapeutic for Lily to have that connection. Rachel thought it was too risky. My parents thought I should wait until Lily was older. But the more I thought about it, the more I kept coming back to what Lily would want, and I knew, deep down, that she'd want to meet them. She'd want to know her siblings. So I texted Jennifer, "I think we should do it, but we need to be really careful about how we set it up, and we can't tell them the truth yet, not until they're older." She agreed, and we started planning. The story we came up with was this. Emma and Jennifer had been friends years ago, before Emma died. They'd lost touch, but Jennifer had recently been thinking about Emma and had reached out to me. She wanted her kids to meet Emma's daughter as a way of honoring their old friendship. It wasn't perfect, but it was close enough to the truth that we could pull it off. We decided to meet at a park on a Saturday afternoon, just a casual playdate. Lily was 8 now, Sarah was 13, and Jake was 11. The age gap was significant, but we hoped they'd find some common ground. I was so nervous the morning of the meetup that I almost called it off 3 times. But Lily was excited. I told her we were meeting some kids whose mom had been friends with Emma, and she loved the idea of connecting with people who'd known her mother. We got to the park, and Jennifer was already there with Sarah and Jake. They looked so normal, so much like any other family. Sarah was tall for her age, with long dark hair like Lily's. Jake was smaller, with David's features. Both of them looked a little confused about why they were there. "Hi," Jennifer said, her voice overly bright. "Lily, these are my kids, Sarah and Jake. Guys, this is Lily." I knew her mom a long time ago. The kids all said awkward hellos, and then stood there looking at each other, not sure what to. "Why don't you guys go play on the swings while we grown-ups talk?" I suggested. The kids wandered off, and Jennifer and I sat down on a bench where we could keep an eye on them. "This is so weird," I whispered. "So weird," she agreed. We watched as the kids navigated the awkwardness. Sarah was being nice, asking Lily questions, but you could tell she wasn't sure why she was there. Jake was mostly ignoring both girls and climbing on the playground equipment. Lily was trying to be friendly, but kept looking back at me nervously. It wasn't going great, honestly. I was starting to think this was a mistake. But then something shifted. I saw Sarah pull out her phone and show Lily something, probably Instagram or TikTok or whatever kids use these days. Lily leaned in to look, and they both started laughing. Jake noticed them laughing and came over to see what was so funny. And soon all 3 of them were huddled together, giggling at something on Sarah's phone. Jennifer noticed it too. "Oh my God," she said softly. "Look at them." And I did. I looked at the 3 of them together, Lily and her half-siblings, who had no idea they were related, and something in my chest cracked open. They looked like family. They just did. The rest of the playdate went better. The kids found a soccer ball and played a chaotic game that had no real rules. Jake taught Lily some card tricks. Sarah braided Lily's hair. By the end, they were acting like old friends. When it was time to go, Lily actually looked sad. "Can we do this again?" she asked me. "They're really nice." "Sure, sweetie," I said, "if they want to." Sarah overheard and immediately said yes. "Mom, can we, please?" Jennifer looked at me, and I could see the same mix of emotions on her face that I was feeling. This was good, but it was also heartbreaking, because these kids had no idea the truth about their connection. "Yeah," Jennifer said, "we can do it again." And we did. We started meeting up regularly, at parks, at museums, sometimes just at one of our houses. The kids became genuine friends. Lily adored Sarah, following her around like a puppy. Sarah was sweet with her, acting like the big sister she technically was. Jake was more standoffish at first, but even he warmed up eventually. Jennifer and I became friends too, in a weird way. We'd sit together during these playdates and talk about everything: our jobs, our families, our struggles. We never talked about David. He was this unspoken presence, the elephant in the room. But we both avoided mentioning him. I knew he knew about the playdates. Jennifer had told him. Apparently, he was uncomfortable with it, but didn't try to stop it. He just stayed out of it entirely. Months went by like this. The kids' friendship deepened. Lily started talking about Sarah and Jake all the time. What they'd said, what they'd done, how cool they were. She had no idea they were her siblings, but she loved them anyway. And that's when I realized something. These kids were building a relationship based on nothing but genuine affection. There was no obligation, no blood relation explanation, no adult drama weighing it down. They liked each other because they actually liked each other. Maybe that was better. Maybe that was how it should be. But of course, nothing stays secret forever. It happened about 6 months after that first playdate. Lily came home from school one day, looking confused and upset. "What's wrong?" I asked. "My friend Emma at school did one of those DNA test things for her family tree project," Lily said. "Can I do one too? I want to know more about where I came from." My blood went cold. You don't need to do that. I can tell you about our family." "But I want to know about my dad's side too," she insisted. "We only ever talk about Mom's family. Don't I have another whole side?" She was right, of course. She did. And I'd been keeping it from her. I realized in that moment that the time had come. I couldn't keep dodging this. She was 9 now, getting older, asking more questions. And with how easy genetic testing was these days, it was only a matter of time before she found out on her own anyway. So I took a deep breath and said, "Okay, you're right. It's time we talked about your dad." We sat down at the kitchen table and I told her everything. Not all the adult details. She didn't need to know about the affair yet, but the basics. Her dad's name was David. He lived in the city. Her mom had decided not to tell him about Lily before she died, which was a mistake, but she'd done it because she was scared and confused. Lily listened to all of it without saying a word. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Does he know about me now?" she finally asked. I hesitated. This was the hard part. "Yes, I told him about you about a year ago. And he doesn't want to meet me?" It wasn't a question. She'd figured it out on her own. "It's complicated," I said, which was a cowardly answer, but I didn't know what else to say. "Does he have other kids?" she asked. Oh, God. "Yes," I admitted. "Do I know them?" And there it was, the moment I'd been dreading. "Yes," I said quietly. "Sarah and Jake are your half-siblings. David is their father, too." I watched her process this. I saw confusion, then shock, then understanding wash over her face. "So all this time," she said slowly, "when we've been hanging out with them, they were actually my sister and brother?" "Half-sister and half-brother," I said. "But yes. And they don't know?" "No, they don't know." Lily stood up from the table and started pacing. I could see her trying to figure out how she felt. Angry, sad, confused, all of it at once. "So my dad doesn't want me," she said finally. "But you made me be friends with his other kids anyway?" "Lily, why would you do that?" Her voice was rising now. "Why would you make me hang out with them and like them when their dad is my dad and he doesn't even care about me?" Because I thought you deserved to know your siblings, I said. Even if David wasn't brave enough to be part of your life, I thought maybe they could be. But it's all a lie, she shouted. They think we're just random friends. They don't know we're related. I know, I said, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Lily. I was trying to do the right thing. But I don't know if there even is a right thing in this situation. She was crying now, and so was I. I tried to hug her, but she pushed me away. I want to be alone, she said. Lily, please, her voice cracked. I just need to be alone right now. So I let her go to her room. And I sat at that kitchen table and cried harder than I'd cried in years. Because I'd broken her heart. I'd tried so hard to protect her, to give her something good, and instead I just made everything worse. Over the next few weeks, Lily barely talked to me. She went to school, did her homework, fed the cat. But she didn't chat with me like she used to. Didn't tell me about her day. Didn't ask to see Sarah and Jake. I tried to give her space while also making sure she knew I was there if she needed me. Dr. Martinez said this was normal, that Lily needed time to process everything. But it was killing me. Finally, about 3 weeks after our conversation, Lily came into my room late one night. I was still awake, reading, and she just stood in the doorway. Can I ask you something? She said. Of course. Does their mom know? Sarah and Jake's mom? I nodded. Jennifer knows. She's the one who wanted you guys to meet. Why? Because I thought about how to explain it. Because she knows it's not fair that David gets to just pretend you don't exist. She thinks you and Sarah and Jake deserve to know each other. Lily was quiet for a moment. Is she nice, Jennifer? Yeah, I said. She's really nice. She's been through a lot, but she's trying to do the right thing. Do you think, Lily hesitated, do you think Sarah and Jake would still want to be friends with me if they knew the truth? I think they'd still want... Yeah, I agreed. It really is. We sat there for a while in silence. Finally, Lily said, I want to keep seeing them, Sarah and Jake, even if it's weird and complicated. I like having a sister and brother. My heart swelled. Okay, we can do that. But I think, she took a deep breath, I think maybe we should tell them, eventually, because it feels wrong being friends with them when they don't know the truth. That's a very mature thought, I said. But it's not just our decision to make. We have to talk to Jennifer about it, and it would be hard for them to hear. I know, Lily said. But don't they deserve to know too? She was right. They did deserve to know. All the kids deserved to know the truth. The question was when and how to tell them. I talked to Jennifer about it the next day. She was hesitant at first. She'd been dreading this conversation with her kids, putting it off for as long as possible. But she also agreed that it wasn't fair to keep lying to them. We always knew this day would come, she said. I just thought we'd have more time. We decided to tell Sarah and Jake together, with Lily present. We wanted them to hear it from us directly, not find out some other way. A week later, we all met at Jennifer's house. David wasn't there. Jennifer said he couldn't handle it, which honestly didn't surprise me. The guy had been running from this since day one. The kids could tell something serious was going on. They sat on the couch, looking nervous, while Jennifer and I stood in front of them. We need to talk to you guys about something important, Jennifer started. Her voice was shaking. About your friendship with Lily. I watched Sarah and Jake exchange confused looks. The thing is, Jennifer continued, Lily isn't just a random friend. She's family. She's your half-sister. There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Sarah said, What? So we explained it. All of it. The affair, the pregnancy, Emma's decision not to tell David, my discovery of the diary, the DNA test. The kids listened, their expressions moving from confusion to shock to something I couldn't quite name. When we finished, nobody spoke for what felt like forever. Finally, Jake said, "So Dad cheated on you?" He was looking at his mom. "Yes," Jennifer said quietly. "A long time ago, and Lily is the result of that." Sarah was staring at Lily now. "You knew? This whole time? You knew we were related?" "Not the whole time," Willie said quickly. "I only found out a few weeks ago. Before that, I didn't know anything." "But you?" Sarah's face was flushing red. "You let us think we were just random friends. You lied to us." "I didn't," Lily started, but Sarah cut her off. "This is so messed up." She stood up abruptly. "This is so messed up. You all just decided to lie to us and make us hang out with her. And, Sarah," Jennifer said firmly, "Lily didn't do anything wrong. None of this is her fault." "But it's weird," Sarah shouted. "It's so weird. Dad had another kid that nobody told us about. And now we're supposed to just what? Act like everything's normal?" "No," I said. "We're not asking you to act like everything's normal. We're asking you to understand that Lily is your sister, whether any of us like it or not. And she deserves to be treated with kindness." Jake hadn't said anything else. He was just sitting there, staring at the floor, processing. Sarah looked like she wanted to argue more, but then she looked at Lily, really looked at her, and I saw something shift in her expression. Maybe she saw how scared Lily looked, how much this confession was costing her too. "I need to think," Sarah said finally. "This is just, it's too much." She left the room. Jennifer followed her. That left me, Lily, and Jake sitting in awkward silence. "Hey, Jake," I said gently. "How are you feeling about all this?" He shrugged. "I don't know. It's weird." Then he looked at Lily. "But I mean, you're still Lily, right? You're still the same person." Lily nodded, looking hopeful. "Then I guess it's okay," Jake said. "I mean, it's weird, but it's also kind of cool having another sister." He paused. I wish Dad had told us himself instead of hiding it. Dot. "Yeah," Lily said softly. "Me too." The next few weeks were rocky. Sarah was clearly struggling with everything. She started pulling away from their usual hangouts, barely speaking to Lily when they did see each other. Jake was more accepting, but even he was quieter than before. The easy friendship they'd had was gone, replaced by this awkward tension. I felt terrible. I'd broken something that had been good, and I didn't know how to fix it. But then, slowly, things started to shift. It started with Jake inviting Lily to his soccer game. Then, Sarah texted Lily a meme with the caption, "Big Sister Duties," and a joke about having to protect her now. Small things, but they mattered. One day, about 2 months after the confession, Jennifer called me. "Sarah wants to talk to Lily," she said. "Just the two of them. Is that okay?" "Of course," I said. "When?" "Now? We're on our way over." 20 minutes later, Jennifer dropped Sarah off at our house and left. Sarah asked if she could talk to Lily in her room, and I said yes, though I positioned myself in the hallway where I could kind of hear them if anything went wrong. I couldn't make out everything they said, but I heard snippets. Sarah apologizing for being cold. Lily saying she understood. Sarah asking questions about Emma, about what it was like growing up without a dad. Lily asking what David was like as a father to her and Jake. They were in there for almost 2 hours. When Sarah finally came out, her eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling. "Thanks," she said to me, "for taking care of her. I can tell you've been a really good mom to her. I'm not her mom, I said automatically. I'm her aunt. Yeah, Sarah said, but also kind of her mom, and that's okay. After Sarah left, I went to check on Lily. She was lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling, but she looked more peaceful than I'd seen her in weeks. How'd it go? I asked. Good, she said. Really good. She said she wants us to be real sisters, like actually spend time together and get to know each other, not just pretend. That's great, sweetie. Yeah. Lily was quiet for a moment. She also said their dad feels really guilty about everything, about me, but that he's too scared to reach out. My jaw tightened. Did she say anything else about him? Just that he's not a bad person, but he makes bad choices sometimes, and she wishes he was braver. Me too, I said. Do you think I'll ever meet him? Lily asked. Like actually meet him and talk to him? I don't know, baby. Maybe someday. But probably not, she said. It wasn't a question. Probably not, I admitted. She nodded, accepting it. And I realized that she'd grown up so much in the past few months. She'd gone from being a little kid who just wanted simple answers to being a young person who understood that life was complicated and messy, and sometimes there were no good solutions. Things got better after that. Sarah and Lily became genuinely close, real sisters, not just friends pretending. Jake was great too, protective and goofy and always trying to make Lily laugh. They started doing sibling stuff together, inside jokes, playful arguments, looking out for each other. Jennifer and I became close too. We'd meet for coffee regularly, without the kids, and talk about everything. She told me more about her marriage with David, about how they were still in therapy, still trying to figure things out. Some days I want to forgive him, she said once. Other days I want to burn it all down. What stops you? I asked. From burning it down, I mean. The kids, she said. And honestly, part of me still loves him. Even after everything. Isn't that pathetic? No, I said. It's human. I also told her about my own struggles, about the guilt I felt over reading Emma's diary, over keeping secrets from Lily for so long, over not being able to give her the normal family she deserved. You did give her a family, Jennifer said. It's just not the one you expected, but that doesn't make it any less real. And you know what? She was right. About a year after Sarah and Jake found out the truth, we all went to the beach together for the day. All 5 of us, me, Jennifer, and the 3 kids. We set up an umbrella, laid out towels, and spent the afternoon swimming and building sandcastles and eating too much junk food. At one point, I looked over and saw the 3 kids in the water together. Lily was on Sarah's shoulders, trying to knock Jake off his boogie board. And they were all laughing hysterically. And I thought about Emma, about what she'd written in that diary years ago, about being so afraid that Lily would never have a real family, that she'd always be alone. But she wasn't alone. She had me, and she had her grandparents, and now she had Sarah and Jake, and even Jennifer in a way. It wasn't the family any of us had planned on or expected, but it was family. What are you thinking about? Jennifer asked. She'd noticed me getting emotional. Just Emma, I said, wishing she could see Lily with her siblings. Jennifer nodded. She made some mistakes, she said, some really big ones. But she also made Lily, and Lily's pretty great. Yeah, I agreed. She really is. That night, after we got home and Lily went to bed, I pulled out Emma's diary one more time. I'd read it so many times by now that I practically had it memorized. But there was one passage I kept coming back to. It was from near the end, one of the last things she'd written. I don't know if I did the right thing, it said. Keeping David in the dark, trying to do this all on my own. I don't know if Lily will ever forgive me for the choices I made, but I hope she knows that everything I did, every lie, every mistake, it was because I loved her. I was scared and confused, and I handled everything wrong, but I loved her more than I've ever loved anyone. I just hope that's enough. I closed the diary and put it back in its box. Someday, when Lily was older, I'd give it to her. Let her read her mother's words for herself, understand the whole messy truth. But for now, I was just going to focus on giving her the best life I could, because that's what Emma would have wanted. That's what Lily deserved. And you know, despite everything, all the secrets and lies and heartbreak and complications, I think we're doing okay. Not perfect. Not the fairy tale ending anyone would have chosen, but okay. And sometimes, okay is enough.